what's up everyone? Jake Blaine here with Apocalypse Movies, and welcome to our spoiler review of Goodbye Christopher Robin, the Winnie-the-Pooh biopic film starring Domnhall Gleeson and Margot Robbie. Again, this is a spoiler review, so I may spoil some things here and there. If you have not seen this film, it is definitely one of the more highly anticipated, smaller films of the fall, of the final months of the year. I was highly looking forward to this movie from the very beginning. Not just because of the actors and actresses involved, but because of the story. This is a story that I had no idea was even, a relevant story. I didn't know how big it was. I thought Winnie-the-Pooh was just created like any other character or book. But there was a massive story behind it. And this film, I gotta say from the get-go, this film does a fantastic job of telling that story. It brings you in from the first few minutes of this film, and it never lets up throughout its runtime. It's so strong, and not just as far as performances go, but the way the characters are kind of set up and given background. They are extremely strong. The players involved, the kind of impact it had on not just the family, but everyone around them, as well as, countries. Just a little bit of backstory, but this took place after World War I, and obviously the world is in a very, very tough spot, specifically England and the United Kingdom. They're in a very, very hard spot. And A.A. Milne, who played by Domhnall Gleeson, he wrote this story for his son, but eventually it became this worldwide phenomenon that kind of brought daylight back into the world after such a hard time. It brought, let people know that there's still good out there after everything that happened. But that didn't come without any consequences, and the consequences were with the family. I gotta say, Domhnall Gleeson and Margot Robbie, they are two of my favorite working right now, and they show that in this movie. They are two completely different characters. Gleeson, he learns from his mistakes, and he makes many mistakes through the movie, but he keeps learning from them, and he tries to do the right thing. Whereas Robbie's character, I almost had a sense of hate towards her, and that's wrong, because she's the mother. It's early 1900s, and the countryside, all this good stuff, but the way she kind of acted at times, it didn't sit well with me, and I thought that Robbie's performance was really strong in that aspect. The little boy who played Christopher Robin, I think his name is Will Tinston, so good. He was able to kind of capture your heart. He brings a lot of heart to this movie, a lot of joy. It's about a boy and playing with the stuffed animals and being around his parents, and he is a huge part of that. And then the woman who plays his nanny, Olive, I think her name is Kelly MacDonald. She is probably my favorite performance of the movie, and she is, because she spends so much time with the little boy, it is such a strong bond. And at one point in the movie, they're ripped apart because of certain circumstances, and it's heartbreaking. I mean, it's hard, not just on her end, but the little boy is devastated, and it has a huge impact on what's going on with Winnie-the-Pooh and the stories. As far as Winnie-the-Pooh goes, it's a cool story how it kind of evolved into being Winnie-the-Pooh, and how the characters came to be, and how the names came to be, and the 100-acre forest, and like all this stuff going on in the world of Winnie-the-Pooh. It all came from the mind of not just A.A. Milne, but his son. They spent probably like 3 days together by themselves, venturing around the countryside forest outside their home, and they just came up with this entire new world. And it's such an interesting way it came together. The sad part about it is that this little kid was kind of thrown into stardom, and his childhood was taken away from him. And that's very, very, that's a strong aspect of the movie, especially in the middle chunk of it. That little boy grows up and has resentment towards his father because he wrote this story. He wants nothing to do with Winnie-the-Pooh. He wants his name to be forgotten. I think he goes by something else now, or used to. And as it's revealed at the end of the story, he took no money from the earnings of that story or the books at all, because he wanted nothing to do with with the world, and because it ripped his childhood away. And so that's definitely the heartbreaking part of the story. There's many things to love about this movie. There's many things to not like about this movie, as far as just the things going on. Not to say there's negatives, but there's just things that you don't like that happened, but it's a true story, which is even crazier to think about. And so if you're looking for a movie to go see with your kids, or on a date, or just a Sunday afternoon or something, go check out Goodbye Christopher Robin. This is one of the best movies of the year. I expected to get some kind of award consideration, not just performance-wise, but movie-wise. It's absolutely fantastic from start to finish. I was sucked in from the very beginning, and I was never let go until the credits started rolling. And so it definitely ranks in my top 10 movies of the year. I don't know where it is just yet, but it's definitely up there. So as for a score for Goodbye Christopher Robin, I would probably give it a 9 out of 10, and that's very, very strong. There are a few things here and there that I don't like. Nothing worth mentioning at this point because I think the movie just deserves every good word of mouth that it's getting. So Goodbye Christopher Robin, Domhnall Gleeson, Margot Robbie, I give it a 9 out of 10. Go check it out. I'm Jake Blinn. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at QuagonJake, PocketBooksMovies.com, and this YouTube channel. Go ahead and give us a like, share, comment on what you think of this film. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Where do you think it lies in the top 10 movies of the year? As well as a subscribe. We really, really appreciate the subscriptions by everyone. You'll check that out here in just a second. Guys, thank you for joining me today. And until next time, see you later.